Great. Oh, yeah. Make sure I'm on the right agenda here. Yep. All right. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting of the Executive Committee of the Dunn County Board of Supervisors to order at 5 to 4. Let the notes show that we are starting a little bit later to accommodate the legislative agenda meeting that happened beforehand. Call of the roll. I think, is Jim Zons online?
Yes. I'm here.
Yeah, we are all present then. Okay. Approval of the minutes. You want to, Supervisor Steen, you want to just approve them as a block?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion. Second by Supervisor Johnson. Any further discussion of the big old block of minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Public comments. Do we have any public comments for the exec committee, or did we use them all up with legislative agenda? I recognize everybody in the room, so I think we are, we have no more public comments. County manager's report. Nick.
Thank you. A couple of these items. Well, the first one I'm not going to be able to speak to too much. The outside audit work is coming to a conclusion, and we are expecting to receive the report this week. However, it wasn't prepared in time to have April Anderson come to the meeting this afternoon and present it. My thought is that what we can do is send it out to the committee members when it comes in so that you can review it. And I'm anticipating that it will be available for the county board meeting next week. Let's see, the next thing is a review of the draft county board agenda. We'll have the minutes, appointments. So one of the things, item number 8 in the draft county board agenda is relates to the Tainter Lake Rehabilitation District. There are a lot of people who have riparian property or property that's adjacent to the Tainter Lake watershed or Tainter Lake, who have signed a petition asking for the approval of the formation of a lake rehabilitation district. The first step in that is to have a public hearing conducted. And so we'll need to, unless there's going to be an idea of for a different composition of who will hear the petition and conduct a public hearing. Staff's recommendation is that the county board appoint the Planning, Resource and Development Committee to do that. So they're busy right now reviewing signatures and making sure that the legal requirements are met, and so that a report for the committee can be prepared. But we're anticipating that we'll have to have a meeting of maybe a special meeting. I don't know. There are tight statutory timelines on this. The public hearing has to be held within 30 days of the date of receipt, and there are some publication requirements. In addition, how many was it, Chase? How many hundred? All 921 landowners adjacent to the lake or the watershed immediate area have to receive mail notification. And so there's a little work to be done, but anyway, that's what that's about. The report of the county manager, we'll talk about purchase orders over $40,000. Then we will have the budget and capital improvements plan reviewed at that time. The chief financial officer will be present in order to bring us up to date on what's going on. And just so you know, the sale of general obligation promissory notes is almost fully executed. Tomorrow, Beata, myself, and Supervisor McCullough need to hang around Menominee because we're going to get a thing that's going to be sent over to us, and we got to print it out, and we got to sign it with wet ink, and then scan it and send it back, and then mail the original to bond counsel, and then we'll be done. And you'll hear that again next week, probably with some more additional information. And that's all really that I had for that stuff. Human services and environmental services are on deck for or up for monthly departmental reports. And in number 11, the Committee on Administration, I've just placed the presentation of the outside auditor report there. I'm anticipating that April will have what we want to hear from her by then. There will be a resolution in your packet for this committee meeting. There's still 3 resolutions, one from Highway, one from Human Services, and one from Land and Water Conservation. My plan is to get those integrated into one resolution again, as I've done in the past couple of months, so that you don't have to have multiple roll call votes, but those will be coming. And really, that's all there is as far as resolutions. And then we will have consideration and action on the appointment of the county manager. That's number 13 on the agenda. I have placed tentatively, this is a draft, I have placed a closed session option in there for it if you wish to use it. My recollection is that when Mr. Miller came, there was no request for closed session. And frankly, that would be the preferred way to go about it, because then there's no complications that come up, and usually they involve writing, which is what I'm doing, what I have to do. But anyway, I put that in there. If you want to leave it in, I think you can, but I would definitely accept your direction to just take it out, if that's what you want to do too. And then that's pretty much it.
I think we may as well leave it in so we have the option. I don't expect that we'll go into closed session, but okay, unless anyone has an objection.
When Mr. Miller was hired, Supervisor Rasmussen said, does anybody think we need to go into closed session? And nobody said yes, so we just moved on.
That's pretty much what I was thinking.
It's a good idea.
And then just to clarify, you said this committee with the legislative agenda committee, you got to add the resolution for that.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Yes, that just came out today. So yeah, there would be a resolution from the legislative committee regarding the referendum question.
Great, thanks.
And then there will be the draft agenda notes. There's going to be a budget workshop on August 13th, 2022. I have tentatively placed 8 o'clock as the start time in there, but as with the other item, if you wish to, if you want to make it 8:30 or 9, I guess that's okay too. You're going to have a pretty big day. And we might have to order Subway or something for everyone, but
I would just like to add a note on that. Supervisor Steen will actually be running the meeting because I have a prior out-of-town commitment that I cannot get out of.
Okay. Noted. Is 8 o'clock start time good for everyone?
Donuts and for me lunch. Are you bringing the donuts?
But
Saturday morning.
yes, Saturday, August 13th, 2022. And it's going to, I think what was anticipated is that it will be the county board having a look in the same way that the committees used to have a look at individual departmental budgets. The entire county board will now be reviewing them sort of in that same way, going through them and making sure that everything is correct. information is still being updated. The PEP, the salaries and benefits and all of that is still subject to modification as information comes in, but hopefully we'll have something by then.
Am I to understand that we would be following more or less what we did last year? Is that correct?
I guess kind of, except that what I'm anticipating is that Chris and Beata and I are meeting about this tomorrow morning to try to develop a format for it. The intent when Supervisor Bartlett and Mr. Miller and Mr. Stry started working on this plan, I think the intent was to have the county board digging into or looking into every department's budget earlier in the process and to eliminate the committee work that occurred every month or every other week for some committees because it was really taxing the staff in the finance division. They were having to go back and make changes a lot. I think Beata she's developed these truly amazing spreadsheets that are interconnected where she can change a figure in one spreadsheet and it'll migrate out to 35 of them instantly, and that's going to help greatly. But basically the entire board is going to be looking at departmental budgets in a series at that workshop.
If I'm understanding this correctly, then the department and the committee would get their information together, send it to be reviewed by us, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than
so cut out a couple of steps, really. Okay.
Yeah, it was in response to a perception. So many county supervisors were feeling like they got to look at. So every committee gets to look at the budgets of the departments that they oversee. But there was a feeling that it would be better to have all of the supervisors looking at all of the departmental budgets earlier in the year. And so that's what this is. And I've asked the department heads to be available.
Rogers. Well, we have a microphone.
It might be nice to know if we have that. Yeah. Last moment. That's not comparable. I think there's if I can try to find the where is it? Well, now I don't know what I did with my. All right, I'm going to share my screen here really quick. This just business for some right here with the purple the present value of the payments, and this is, I think this might just be one of the creditors, but this is a 2023 through 2038 payment schedule. The amounts, so it under do not securitize, the county ends up receiving 100% of the payments, but the risk that something will happen is also very high, because you never know if they end up going out of business and they don't have money to, you know, people, there are laws that say you can't do things, but people do them anyway. And so once the money's gone, it's gone. And dealing with how to get it back is a fight that, you know, may or may not be successful. But you end up with, boy, I guess I really don't understand this. My interpretation is that if the brown header is to securitize but not reinvest, so we receive a payment now and stick it in an account and just utilize it, we would end up with approximately 71% of the total proceeds. And if we were to reinvest it so that we were leveraging interest on the proceeds and utilizing it, you know, maybe a little more cautiously, ending up with 80.7%. So there is that, but waiting until 2038 to receive your final payment, there's a cost associated with that too. And so the present value, the concept of present value is that it, you know, what is this right to receive payments over the course of the next 26 years? What is that worth today? And as a practical matter, it even though it doesn't add up to the same amount, if you get the money today, you can do a lot with it. And if it's invested and you can very often have a better outcome over the course of that time than you would if you were just getting the payment. And I don't think I made that much clearer for you, but it is not a good comparison to take the total amount versus the present value of that total amount, when the only choice you have is to wait 18 years to get it all. So it takes a little bit of the sting out, knowing that you can't get it all now. You have to wait 18 years to get the last payment. It brings those numbers closer together. Sounds like Supervisor Zahns is able to hear us now.
I can finally hear you now. I haven't heard you for 15 minutes before now.
All right, I don't know what happened there. I guess that's it, unless there are any more questions.
Doesn't look like it.
Okay. And that's all I have for my report. I think I addressed the Tainter Lake Rehabilitation District information well enough in reviewing the county board agenda.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of to possibly add on the Tainter Lake Rehabilitation District is essentially it creates a taxing authority, if I'm
Yes.
understand.
Yes, they will have authority to tax the properties that are within the district. So anybody that's adjacent to the water.
So some of you may be hearing a lot more about that at some point. So
Mr. Chairman,
just a heads up. Tom?
I wonder if, I think it might be beneficial to have Chase do a quick review of it so everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, that'd be great. Chase, are you without objection?
Thank you, Chase.
Good afternoon. So probably for the last year at least, our office has been was contacted by some individuals that live on Tainter Lake and wanting to pursue a lake district. Being the first time for us here in Dunn County, with the exception of Elk Creek Lake, who's been a lake district for many, many years. This process was new, so we had to follow some guidance that's been put in place through statutes. So chapter 33 of Wisconsin state statutes, it describes the responsibilities and authorities that are granted to a lake district, as well as the requirements and responsibilities for the Dunn County Board of Supervisors or a county board of supervisors in their responsibility to review, approve, or deny such a district. So basically, yes, it is a taxing authority district. The way a district would work is a initial board of commissioners, if you will, is appointed by the county board of supervisors. There is a makeup and a requirement of what that initial board would look like. And then at least prior to, they'll have to set an annual meeting, and then there'll be a re-election of those board members at some point in time if the district is approved. The Dunn County Board of Supervisors, you all would have authority for appointment of at least, I believe, 2 on this board of commissioners for the Lake District. And all those details will work out as this thing progresses. But the idea would be is that the district would establish projects that they want to work on within the watershed, or particularly the Lake District itself. Those projects typically have monetary requirements with them, and a budget would be set. Upon that budget, then the mill rate and taxing request would be placed upon those properties in order to compensate or make up for some of that projects that they would like to do. Certainly there are state, federal grants that could be awarded to a lake district to accomplish some of their projects, and those would then impact whatever that mill rate would be and taxing authority would be for that lake district. So to back up as far as the timeline that we are under right now, the petition was submitted last week. Within 30 days of the petition submittal, the County Board of Supervisors has to appoint a committee to hold a public hearing, as was mentioned earlier. That public hearing is a class 1 notice. That class 1 notice needs to be provided to all impacted landowners within the district. So as the number was mentioned earlier, it's somewhere around 921, I think is the estimate. Those petitions are being reviewed right now by our county clerk, Andrew, for verification that they are matching the parcels and property owners that are there. Within 3 months of holding the public hearing, the PR&D committee, which would hold that public hearing, and obviously our staff with supporting that, would provide a report back to the county board at a meeting. And then the county board then has another 3 months to make a decision on whether to approve or deny the Lake District. Within those statutes and within the guidance documents that we have access to and would happily share with everyone, there are, I guess, criteria that the county board would need to review and make their decision based upon. So, like I mentioned, it's a new process for all of us. So we're gonna go through this as detailed as we think we need to be, and provide the information. Staff will provide as much information to you as we possibly can for you to make the best informed decision. But right now, we're trying to get through, and Andrew's trying to work on those petition reviews. We'll get the notification in place for a public hearing to be held if the county board so chooses at the next meeting to appoint the PR&D committee to hold that public hearing. So I anticipate there to be plenty of public input at that public hearing. We've had a few people, citizens, contact our office with questions already. So if at any point in time you have questions about the process or what that district is about, or, please feel free to contact our office and we can do our best to help get you the information. So any questions?
One, just for perspective, you said 930 or so residents?
Yeah, I believe based on the boundaries that were delineated for the district that is being proposed by this group, there ends up being around 921 landowners that would be impacted by this.
And if I'm recalling my conversation with Andrew, 536 people signed the petition.
Correct. There
So
needs to be
well over half.
There needs to be 51% valid petitioners in order for a petition to move forward. I believe they're at 58 or 59% of those had actually signed. So that's where we're trying to verify right now whether or not that percentage is accurate, because that's a key component in moving this forward. So.
Anyone else? Looks like you're off the hook.
Okay.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
In the back here. We're in item 6 then. Reports, resolutions, and ordinances to the county board from the executive committee. Resolution for budget adjustment, human services department, highway department, land and water conservation division. You're gonna put those all together into one, you were saying. And I do not remember, we don't need to approve that at this level, do we? Or do, okay. This one we do. Okay. My brain's a little bit fried. So at this point, if someone would like to, I guess we will have to do this since it's not yet put together. We'll probably have to do it in 3. Well, if
feel comfortable taking them up at once, I don't see a problem because they're all going to be included in the resolution.
Works for me. So do I have an emotion? Supervisor Morehouse, Supervisor Quinn seconds. Any speaking?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
I had a question for Chase, and after you just sat down, about the environmental services adjustment. Just curious about the money coming from other counties. Is that they just weren't going to use it for a nutrient management plan, or how does that work? How do we acquire all that money from them?
Certainly a good question and not common. So every county in the state has the option to apply for grant funds to cost share nutrient management planning in their counties. And some counties' priorities identified in their land and water resource management plan may not elevate nutrient management to a level of importance where they spend a lot of time on it, given their workload. In some cases, counties then don't apply for those funds, and then that gets distributed out to the rest of the counties. In some cases, counties apply for those funds. They're awarded those funds through their annual grant. And then depending on workload challenges, they sometimes implement them and sometimes they don't. It's typical for us at any point in time through the Wisconsin Land and Water Conservation Association listserv that counties will put out and solicit for in need of additional funds or in need of offloading funds. The reason a county would want to transfer funds is if you have a 3-year average underspending in your grant of a certain percentage, then it could impact your future grant eligibility. So counties want to spend those funds and move those to other areas. We are in a situation this year where we have $28,000 in nutrient management money that was awarded in our grant, and we have enough farms and one particular farm that was in need of cost share where we didn't have enough money for it. We could extend that into next year and continue to kind of do a backlog, but we solicited other counties and other counties jumped on it. So we got an additional $37,000 from 3 other counties to support nutrient management here in Dunn County. So we're hoping that we can stay on that path and maybe make those requests annually. So.
Thank you, Chase. Any further speaking? All right, then we can take the vote. Nick, we can do this voice vote, or do we need, that's what I thought. All right, all in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Resolution appointing county manager and authorizing county board chair to execute an employment contract. And
some of the stuff you could address in open session if you want. Put in a language for closed session here in the event that you have to for negotiations then. So we have a perspective person who's perspective second all the
does anyone feel?
Sorry.
Oh,
I was not on mic.
yes,
I've included a closed session possibility here in the event that you want to go into closed session to review a draft of the employment contract that we can present to Chris Corpola for her consideration and ultimately to be signed by both she and the county board chair.
Mr. Chair, I wonder if you would consider asking the committee to perhaps move this agenda item down to the bottom of the agenda. Deal with it there if we want. I mean,
I can see
get the rest of our business done if we decide to have a closed session.
Without objection, we can bump that down. But Supervisor Rogers, you had
microphone.
Do we have a question that we need to address in closed session? I'm going to distribute draft of the contract and probably summarize all the paragraphs in it. And if you want to take time to read through, you can. When Mr. Miller came, the county board chair and I sat down in my office and we drafted it, and that was really pretty much the review that came. But I didn't want to publicize the contract in advance without knowing what your wish is with regard to, being discreet.
Does anyone feel a strong need to go into closed session for this?
I don't know that there necessarily is.
Supervisor Johnson, you do? Okay, so then let's move it down to the bottom and we'll do it in closed session.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so that without objection, we're moving 6B down to after reports from standing committees and before the next, well, the next meeting date, August 10th is fine, and before adjournment. So review reports, resolutions, ordinances, going to be county board from the standing committees. We don't have any of those. Reports from standing committees. Oh, and just can you put on the next agenda, exec agenda, that we need to discuss the transfer station?
Yes. I'm still looking into that, but.
Okay, great. I just realized it. Well, I just got to the end of the agenda here and realized that that had been on my mental list and it was not on my paper list. So standing committees. Supervisor Quinn.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ask for, you get what you ask for, I guess. PR&D has had a pretty light schedule compared to our usual operations, and mostly dealing with staff reports and updates on progress and programs and activities. We've had some hearings on or some requests for variances on land divisions, which we've approved. And then the report from Chase that kind of in condensed form happened today about the Lake Association requests. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Supervisor Quinn. I think I'm going to go this way today. Gary, I think we covered legislative agenda and legislative agenda. Is there anything else you need to add? Okay. Supervisor Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Health and Human Services Board last met on June 23rd, and we're meeting next week again. Pretty routine for us. Excellent reports from each of our departments. In terms of action steps, we approved the May vouchers budget adjustment, which we just approved here. We also formally approved the appointment of Paula Winter, which the chair should have done when we came out of our second closed session hearing, but failed to do. So we did formally and unanimously approve the appointment of Paula Winter as the new Human Services Manager, and I assume that she will be with us next week. Just as an update, met with Paula, Susan Badke from West Central Regional Planning, Chris Corpola and I, to talk a little bit about the progress of the housing study, which is underway, hard as that is to believe since we've been talking about it forever. Regional Planning has done, has formed advisory committees with each of with the county, I think I reported that last month, and with the localities, the city of Menominee and the village of Boyceville, and those committees have met and are excited about moving forward. Initially in the work plan, we did not approve a survey that would be done by a survey research firm, actually UW River Falls, just because of cost. But we are pursuing the idea of doing some online surveys with some excellent ideas from Chris about additional ways to distribute it, just as a way of getting more information out there about the housing study and getting us some more information. And I perhaps stupidly volunteered to assist with data analysis. So, but anyway, that's underway and we're pretty excited about having that go forward. That's my report, Mr. Chairman.
All right, and I'm going to actually cut in front of Brian so I don't forget Jim. Oh. Supervisor Zons, if you can hear us.
I can hear you. So, and I will, I'll activate my camera as I'm sitting here in this lovely park in Rice Lake, attending this meeting. The Community Resources and Tourism Committee, we met last Tuesday. We got some updates from UW Extension. There's been, as there has been at the counties, there's been a fair number of turnover at several levels at Extension, but we got some real nice updates from the folks at Foodwise who haven't had the level of turnover that maybe some of the other parts of Extension have had. In addition to that, we also approved the local library budget requests, same as we had done last year at like 100%. We had a submission for the Dunn County Economic Development Corporation. We actually ended up for the budget that they submitted, we tabled that to the next meeting, and then we we had a motion to set aside the same number of funding, same amount of funding that they were requesting for their budget to dedicate towards economic development that we will then discuss at our next meeting, which will be August 9th. And that's my report from Rice Lake.
Supervisor Zons. All right. Supervisor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our last meeting was July 13th, and Commissioner Binder reported on highway and shop operations. They're scheduled to complete the annual seal coating for the county and state town roads shortly, week of July 11th through 13th. Shop operations continue with routine repairs and scheduled maintenance. The project updates, the County Road V and County Q projects are currently being prepared for paving, which is currently scheduled at the end of July. County Truck Z continues with culvert replacements, shoulder widening, ditching, slope improvements, and base hauling. Bridge updates, County Truck K in Connorsville is nearing completion. County Truck Q bridge north of Knapp has officially started July 5th. Then we had the various equipment updates, and we reviewed the financials. And our next meeting is August 10th, and that's what I'll have. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Johnson. Supervisor Kinnear.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When I listened to Supervisor Morehouse start out saying it's just routine, and you went on and tell all these interesting things that are going on. That's routine. That's good. Well, it was routine. We'll meet next week again. Staff's still doing a good job. It's a struggle to keep get enough people to fully staff it, and that continues to be the case. Working on a possible CNA training or doing it ourselves or getting someone else in there. Working hard on that. And East and West are doing pretty good income versus expenses these days. If we can get Central full, we'd be doing all right. Once again, pretty routine. I had a tour the other day from Scott Nebefeld of the guts of the place. And it was really interesting to me. I don't know who else it would be, but it's quite a facility. So things are moving along, and I think the staff is doing a great job. And we meet next week, and that's it.
Thank you, Supervisor Kinnear. Supervisor Rogers.
Facilities met on June 22nd. And we did have some public comment on the parks. At this time, you haven't moved forward on the resolution for camping in the parks. Been tabled until corporate council gets some information back to us and gets a resolution. They've been kind of busy. The committee moved to forward the issue of the transfer station, whether we lease it or sell it, to the executive committee, which will probably come in front of you here next month. We, of course, would probably prefer to lease it so that the county still has a little bit of control over the opportunity to provide the services if someone's leasing it. However, it's going to come here for you to discuss whether or not to the legal parameters and everything with leasing or selling it. The fair is getting ready to go. The fair starts July 22nd. The fans were installed in the cattle barn and they're ready. They're up and running. We're forwarding in a budget adjustment to the committee for transfer of the ARP funds that were used for the fan. Other than that, nothing major. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Rogers. Supervisor Headland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. admin committee met 23rd of June. We had a nice, short and concise meeting. Basically, the thing, major part of our agenda was the approval of the vouchers. We had a few minor questions, which were answered by email the following day to identify any questionable payments. Our next meeting will be the 28th, the day after the county board meeting. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Headland. Supervisor Calabrese.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judiciary and Law has not met since May. The agenda in June was pretty bare. There were no action items, and I was advised that we didn't need to have a meeting if I didn't want to. So we skipped that one, and I thought it might be dangerous to tell me that. No, but I'm really enjoying a lot of it because there are other committees that I am a part of, including tomorrow the Dunn County Local Emergency Planning Committee is meeting, and I guess they meet quarterly maybe, or something along those schedules. And it looks really fascinating to me because a lot of the people who are invited are players from around the county, including people from the media, people from local businesses, and it's that should be interesting. And last week we had a Criminal Justice Collaboration Committee meeting, which was via Zoom, and also very interesting, with the sheriff and Sarah Benedict and the chief of police, where we did some further discussion on firearm surrendering, and that's rolling along. And at the next meeting, if anybody's interested, one of the supervisors asked me if I could ask the sheriff and emergency management about Dunn County's preparedness for an active shooter event, given the events in the news in recent months. And the sheriff said that he would be happy to answer any questions and take the committee and anybody else, any other supervisors, out to his squad car to look at special specific equipment that they have for such an event. So we're going to be doing that next Monday, the 25th, I believe it is, at 4:30 p.m. And that's my report.
Thank you, Supervisor Calabrese. That ends the reports of committees. Our next meeting date will be August 10th at 2022. Sorry, August 10th of 2022. I really am tired.
August 13th. August 13th.
Or 10th. August 10th for the exec.
Oh, never mind.
We're both tired, I guess. So August 10th for the exec, August 13th for the budget meeting. And now back to 6B. So do I have a motion to go into closed session? Supervisor Steen and Supervisor Rogers. This is a roll call vote.
Yes.
Nick, you want to take the roll, or?
Yes, I can. Let me pull up the. Yeah, we have to stop recording here, but we can do this in open session. I'll just go around the row. Supervisor Quinn.
Yes.
Supervisor Steen.
Yes.
Supervisor McCullough.
Yes.
Supervisor Morehouse.
Yes.
Supervisor Johnson.
Yes.
Supervisor Kinnear.
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers.
Yeah.
Supervisor Headland.
Yeah.
Supervisor Calabrese. And the Supervisor Zons.
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
there.
All right. In closed session, we discussed the employment contract. And we are now moving back into open session. So if someone would like to make a motion to approve the contract as presented
And the resolution.
and the resolution.
I would move approval of the contract as presented and the resolution.
Thank you, Supervisor Morehouse. Supervisor Steen jumped on that for the second. Any speaking? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That is our last item on the agenda. So if no one has anything further that's immediately relevant and actually on the agenda, We are adjourned.
Anyone that wants to.